Member for Kew.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. I rise to support the local government Whittlesea City Council Bill 2020, which is a bill to dismiss the City of Whittlesea Council. The opposition supports the government's bill today and wishes to see this bill speedily passed through this chamber and the other place so that royal assent could be granted as quickly as possible to see that rogue and dysfunctional council dismissed forthwith. It is a rogue and dysfunctional council, and there are too many rogue and dysfunctional councils around Victoria, and it feels somewhat like a bit of a habit now. We come to Parliament and sack another council, and the Minister and I have a similar view on these matters, which is if councillors are going to engage in conduct that is totally unacceptable, totally beyond the expectations of local ratepayers and residents, then they ought to be dismissed by the state government. We have very firm, I have, and indeed the opposition has, very firm expectations as to the role of local government, and the community is tiring of seeing councillors behaving in a way that is contrary to community expectations. The City of Whittlesea has been a notorious local government area for literally decades. I can recall, for as long as I've been involved in politics, I can recall Labor Party factions fighting at the City of Whittlesea. Now, the Monitor's report into the City of Whittlesea is a good document. We were advised this morning in a briefing, and I thank the government for providing me with that briefing this morning, that Mr Bleicher was to present an interim report in March 2020 after he was commissioned in December last year. As it turned out, a final report was prepared by March for the council to be sacked today. I can only imagine that the reason for that was because the Monitor found that the council was so bad, was so far gone that they ought to be dismissed. I hope that there are no other motivations, and I have been assured that there are not. If I could quote from the Monitor's report on page 9 to begin with, the Monitor writes, I have come regretfully to the conclusion that there is no prospect that the mindsets and behaviours of the majority of councillors can change. The factional, and I repeat this for Labor members of Parliament, the factional and personal antagonisms that have long bedevilled good governance at Whittlesea Council, whilst not openly exhibited by all councillors, are nonetheless deeply embedded and intractable. Madam Acting Speaker, I refer to page 14 of the Monitor's report. The principal protagonists appear both unwilling and incapable of finding common ground that could bring some greater measure of civility, respect and consideration to their councillor relationships. Some councillors have expressed dread at the thought of attending council meetings. Another described the prospect of continuing in office as akin to being, and I quote, dragged into the mud with warring pigs. Madam Acting Speaker, that's quite extreme language, and I'm pleased that the Monitor has quoted an unnamed councillor there, because it just shows you how dysfunctional the whole place had become. The mayoralty was described at interview by one councillor as the golden ticket, with a salary in excess of $100,000 in addition to the prestige of the office. There can be little doubt that the single-minded pursuit of the mayoralty and the factional ascendancy that goes with it, factional ascendancy, I remind Labor members of Parliament, factional ascendancy that goes with it has damaged good governance in the City of Whittlesea for much of the last 15 years. That is my recollection of the City of Whittlesea for the entire time, as I said earlier in politics, that the City of Whittlesea has been the battleground for Labor factional bloodletting for the entire time I can recall in terms of my time in local government, indeed in politics. And it's to that point why it has taken so long for this Labor government to sack the City of Whittlesea. This should have happened years ago. And it is, I think, to the regret of a lot of people in Whittlesea that they will now not have elected councillors until 2024, the next round of council elections after October this year. Now, had that council been sacked much earlier, there could have been an opportunity for governance reform, both in the organisation and at the council level, so that by October 2018 they could have been ready for council elections. Because the government sat on its hands, I suspect for a number of internal and factional reasons, didn't do what it should have done years ago and sacked this wreck of a council, we now are in a situation where the ratepayers of Whittlesea will have to wait until October 2024 to have a say as to who sits around the council table at Whittlesea. And I'd like to quote from page 16 of the report, Madam Acting Speaker, because this is very, very serious. In all, there are currently over 20 active investigations, the majority by the local government inspectorate relating to Whittlesea City Council. 20. One councillor who figured prominently in my interviews with staff for his bullying and aggressive behaviours was scheduled to appear before a councillor conduct panel following an application from the Chief Municipal Inspector for a finding of serious misconduct against him. However, he resigned. I have made two further referrals arising from my investigations. The first to the Chief Municipal Inspector and the second to the Independent Broad-Based Anti-Corruption Commission, IBAC. So there is a referral to IBAC by the Monitor on an issue for which has not been disclosed, and nor will it, on a serious matter, clearly, a very serious matter of alleged corrupt conduct by someone at the City of Whittlesea to IBAC. Now, obviously, we've seen the Casey debacle continuing at IBAC. Now Whittlesea is heading in that direction to be investigated by IBAC, and I just think that's a very concerning development. It's new information that's come to light today through the Monitor's report, and it's good to see that integrity bodies are taking a good hard look at local government, because the community are very concerned about what they've seen at Casey and all the stories that they've heard at dysfunctional councils like Whittlesea. I'm also concerned, I've received correspondence from the Mayor, and I wasn't aware of this, but because the Mayor, and I'm quoting from Neos Cosmos here, because the Mayor took a vote for the mayoralty to help elevate her to the helm of Whittlesea Council, she got kicked out of the Labor Party. I mean, that's quite a... I mean, this is the sort of behaviour of Labor councillors that saw Brimbank dismissed all those years ago for an extraordinary period of time, because Labor councillors use local government as a factional battleground. And this Mayor was booted out of the Labor Party for taking a vote for the mayoralty from a non-Labor member. There has been a number of disputes in Labor's dispute tribunal, sat a number of times to deal with claims of alleged disloyalty. And it's this sort of caucusing, Madam Acting Speaker, by Labor councillors across Victoria, particularly across inner Melbourne, that certainly annoys and distresses many ratepayers, because councillors are not necessarily acting in the best interests of their local communities and the council, but of the Australian Labor Party, but also, particularly under the Planning and Environment Act, most probably contradicts the Winky Pop decision and is most probably unlawful. And I think for Labor to be seriously considering endorsing candidates for the council elections in 2018, council elections this year in October, for Labor to be seriously considering endorsing council candidates, and then for that level of caucus discipline to exist at a council, I believe is unlawful, I believe is wrong. And Labor's Minister for Local Government, Mr Somyurek, in the other place, said exactly that during the debate on the local government bill. And I agree with him wholeheartedly. There is no place for overt partisan party politics in local councils. Of course, people come to local councils with a set of views and values. A lot are members of political parties, that's appropriate. But for that level of caucus discipline to exist on a local council where someone gets booted out of a political party because they accepted a vote of someone not from the Labor Party to get the mayoralty, I think is frankly wrong and bizarre. But on that, I'm very happy to support this bill. I don't expect any other speakers from the opposition, and I hope that it can be in the Legislative Council this afternoon with royal assent. hopefully sometime tomorrow. Thank the House.